Graeme Tennick, who is the founder and Chief Impact Officer for Tennick Accountants. Hi Graeme, how are you doing?
I'm really good, Paul. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm really happy that we're doing this. We've had some brilliant conversations and heard you speak many times, but it's always fun to go a little bit deeper into these interviews. So let's just start with, I've introduced you, who you are and what you do, but can you just tell us a bit more about what you do at Tennick?
Yeah, sure. So the line I'll start with is we change lives, and we change lives start with one conversation at a time. I think we're living such an amazing age at the moment whereby technology is at the forefront of so much, but the personal touch, which fits into the Super Connector title of this talk, can sometimes lack or just fall away far too easily. And I won't relay back too much to COVID too much on this, but our purpose there is to bridge that gap, because we have a 360 vision here at Tennick Accountants. That's to make our lives better, make clients' lives better, and make the world a better place. And with where the world is generally, we need to embrace technology, but also embrace the human interaction to facilitate that. And we're in such a privileged position in the accountancy profession that we're able to do that. And I've never been more excited to be part of the profession at the moment.
Wow, I love that. I've never heard an accountant talk like that about what they do. So why are you like that? Because you don't need to be like that, do you? Like there's a lot of accountants out there who don't talk in those terms and don't do anything beyond maybe doing your annual VAT return, or you check in every now and then, and they'll just sort of collate your receipts and do some basic bookkeeping for you. So what is it about you and your business that, why do you want to do what you're doing?
Well, let's go to the backstory, because anybody listening, when they hear about accountancy, they're probably going to turn off within 2 to 3 minutes. So let's bring this to life a little bit in early doors as well. The passion for me, and so many of us could probably relate to this, is the backstory before me. So my dad had a forklift truck business, built that up, sold it. But every conversation he went into, every room, anything like that, if he had a meeting, he would always light up a room and he always looked to make a difference. So be that receptionist at the front desk, be it a case of the cleaner who'd walk past on his way to a meeting, be it a case of a worker on the shop floor, to the MD, to absolutely everybody the same. But he always looked to bring a smile to somebody's face. And that might be a bit of a cheeky comment he might make from time to time and say, oh, look, where's my favourite ginger biscuits? You had those there last time. Is everything all right? I see I'm just getting hobnobs this time. Or it might be a case of personalising his approach to say, oh, hi, Paul, how are you doing? And then you start mentioning where you've been on holiday, or kind of say the fact that obviously you've got a new addition to the family with the dog. Or he'd remember those personal details to make everybody feel special. And by looking to make that difference, I was fortunate enough from a very young age to be surrounded and part of that business, be it a case of Saturday mornings working in the depot, be it a case of going to the football match with my dad, and be surrounded by business owners of all backgrounds, all ages. And it just really drew me in. And granted, and a lot of people smile about this, when I did start working with my dad, I did get all the crap jobs you can possibly imagine. So I didn't go straight to kind of corporate football matches. It wasn't that at all. I'd be cleaning toilets, painting walls, shoveling, you know what, off the floor, and muck, that is. It wasn't, it's a fork truck business. But I got all the crap jobs you can imagine. But it gave us that bit of background, that bit of experience to understand what business was about, what business people were about. And that was the passion that drew me in. It was that passion which made me think, you know what, I'd like to have my own business. And people may or may not be aware of this, but I had a conversation with Dad. He said, would you want to come into the business? This was when I was a little bit older. And I said, no. And two main reasons for that. One was my dad and his business partner had built up that business themselves. So I wanted them to get the rewards out of it. So I thought, actually, you know what it is? No, look, they should go and do this. And they put the time and effort. I'd like them to get the benefit. But also, too, for me, I wasn't passionate about that same area. I wanted to stand on my own 2 feet in an area I was passionate about and stand in my own shoes. My dad is also called Graeme Tennick, Graeme John Tennick, just to avoid any confusion. I'm Graeme James Tennick. So just in case anybody has a look on LinkedIn, yes, there are actually 3, and yes, I can count 3 LinkedIn profiles. One is mine, one is my dad's, and the other one is my dad's that he set up by accident. So if you have a look on there, just think, what the heck's going on? So the passion for me was business, and I stumbled into accountancy. top of all, I stumbled into it, but I want to change lives the way my dad did. And that's what brought me to what I do today and why I'm so passionate about it and why I feel like I, along with the team, are in such a privileged position to influence the future, not just report the past by asking better questions, the sort of questions my dad would once ask, then giving people the direction and support based on professional qualifications and the information we have access to help them live and lead better lives.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because yeah, I can totally see. It sounds like a great role model for you in the way you interacted with, like you say, everybody from every level within the business and outside the business. So I can see why that would appeal, and you think, oh, I want to do that for myself. But accountancy, you've mentioned it a couple of times. I think being in a privileged position as well. Like I think I've worked in and around accountancy firms and software companies for like a lot of my career as well. Accountants are regularly or always at the top as being the most trusted advisors for business as well, because you are right in the thick of everything. Like money and finance it's essential. You can't have a good, successful business without good finance. So, but people do trust you, don't they? They come, you'll, because you can't really hide if you're seeing all the finances where the money's coming in and going out. So, yeah, how do you take that responsibility?
Well, it's an interesting one, and it's a brilliant question, because I'm going to be controversial here. I would actually say I think the accountancy industry is currently dying and on its knees.
Right.
It sounds extreme, but just to prove there must be something here, I did a keynote speech on this in London in April of this year with that exact topic. But there is hope. I keep speaking about the privileged position, but that privileged position extends outside the accountancy industry. If you think about technology has opened up opportunities for which business owners across multiple industries never potentially thought was possible. It also creates risks alongside that. But all of a sudden now you could be a local business in Sunderland, Middlesbrough, Newcastle, anywhere across the Northeast and could be competing globally and could do it relatively cost effectively. And technology's had a major role to play in that. Now, bringing that back into accountancy for a second, I think the accountancy industry has actually lost a lot of its respect. And I think the accountancy industry has contributed towards that. So, two key points. First of all, from a training perspective, accountancy used to have the sort of relationship you described there before, Paul, whereby we were super close with our clients. We knew each other's wives, husbands, kids, dogs' names. We were so closely ingrained with the first phone call that would actually be made in terms of that. But I think that skill set, and this goes back to education from a very, very young age. And I don't want to generalize, because like I say, there are very much exceptions to this, but now the education is more tech focused and people are no longer playing on street corners or in fields the way they once did. They're interacting using technology because the facility is there to do so. Whereas a challenge for me was going and knock on a friend's house to try and convince his mum or dad that it was all right for him to come and play, even though it was late at night. And yeah, we'd probably be late back as well. Now it's a case of you send a WhatsApp or something like that. So that human interaction, I think, is lacking. And I think the industry is losing a real skill set there because, and like you said, I don't blame the industry for this. I think just education generally is more tech focused rather than person focused. But I think it should almost be more education towards the people skills and the communication skills to bring that bit back, because you can be the smartest cookie in the world, but if you kind of convey that message, it just doesn't land. Now, the second part which relates to that is with technology, I think there's a miseducation which is going on there now. So education, you've only got to look at some of the adverts on TV. I'm going to use QuickBooks just as one example. QuickBooks might have you believe that you can do your tax return while being in a Pilates class. So the actual understanding or perceived understanding of the role of an accountant, I think, is diminished in terms of what you think the responsibilities are. There's now this perception out there that the technology can do a lot of that work for you. So people are like, well, so what is the role of the accountant? If they haven't got that closeness, that proximity in terms of relationship, and the task being done can largely be done by some bit of software over there, what ultimately are you paying for? Which unfortunately leads down a very dangerous rabbit hole for which we need to do something about. We need to do something about that urgently.
Yeah, no, I can see yeah, totally. I know like the promise of like the cloud-based accountancy software when it was really taken off was the role of the accountant was meant to be changed. Or this is like the message coming from the software companies is,
Yeah.
you can spend less time doing the sort of grunt work and more time in an advisory role, like helping the businesses plan for the future and help them understand the numbers and what that means. And so that is a different attitude and a different way of working for a lot of accountants who've maybe not needed to do that in the past. And like you say, if more and more business owners are thinking, well, I can just do it myself, like the accountants, I don't need all the skills and education to know how to do my accounts. It's this dark art that my accountant just takes care of. I can just do it myself. Like say if the accountant isn't offering those additional services or what are they doing? But I know you do that. You do.
Yeah.
You're very. But yeah. So what's a reaction? What's a response when you say that about the accountancy world?
Mixture. So where I did the talk was very receptive towards it, and it's hard. Like I said, I understand the struggles within the profession because the accountancy industry is struggling to attract and retain staff. But again, that boils down to something to vision, values, purpose. But from a business owner's perspective, I don't blame business owners. It's a natural reaction. But what we need to do is the technology should be there to elevate the relationships, not stand behind them. So if you use that, the data allows you to ask better questions to, like I said before, influence the future rather than report the past. So we should be getting ahead in terms of that. So what we've done is we've adapted our approach to start asking and structuring better questions and support our clients in better ways. Now, 3 ways we look to do that is by asking them and getting closer with regard to, okay, well, can you tell me, Paul, what does success look like to you personally 12 months from today? Tell me what does success look like to you in business 12 months from today? And then from an accountant and business owner's perspective, what does success look like with regards to this working relationship 12 months from today? Now, by just asking 3 very, very simple questions, you can start getting involved in the nitty-gritty side of things, but you start bringing in that personal element back in, along with the business element, alongside the bits which you start off with in terms of the compliance elements, because those compliance elements, yes, software can do a lot of those things, and software is going to get a lot better at doing those sort of things. But when you're doing a set of accounts, you can legally do them in 2 different ways. And I'm going to really simplify this. The first way you can do it is you can do it with a primary purpose of just saving tax. So you can follow all the guidelines, save tax, do whatever is legally necessary to reduce the tax down. And you might think, well, surely that's the only way. But if you've got somebody that wants to move house, and so they want to move house, they want to go on a holiday or anything like that, and they come to a mortgage renewal, they might say, well, look, I'm not so bothered about saving tax. That use of home charge I can't have, or I don't have to have. I don't really want that. They might want higher profits. So in which case you can have your focus more on the higher profits to generate that, so they can go and get a mortgage renewal and so forth, so forth. So there's 2 very different paths to go down there. Now also, with regards to the spine I talked about before, the 360 vision of making our lives better, make clients' lives better, make the world a better place. When you look at the spine in a business, the spine of a business is very, very important as well in terms of how many different people are interacting with that business. Now, subject to the size, they might have marketing expertise, internally or externally, might have financial advisor, might have legal representatives, all these guys. We all really need to make sure we're on the right page. And that hub, that one place of truth is ultimately the numbers. So you might have a financial advisor that's giving them direction to go on this path. Your accountants take you in this path, and your marketing guys are taking you in this path. And we just need to say, look, here, what's the road of travel which we're seeking to be on? Who's going to hold you accountable to where you are on that path and what needs to be done to bring you back on track should you veer off it? And that's where the exciting bit is. But in order to do that, you need to try and educate your team, educate your clients. And ultimately, this comes at a greater cost than what it would be if somebody just buys the software alone or goes with an online accountant who is charging buttons. So I've seen an advert on Facebook there just over the weekend. It seems to keep popping up there now, and I took a screenshot of it. And it kept saying, why are you paying your accountant £500 a month? And then it said, you can pay us as little as £20 a month. And I just smiled. But if somebody, and then there's 2 things with conversations such as this. One is affordability, 2's value. If that's all you can afford, well, and you need something, you've got no other choice. Well, you should really go with that because you cannot afford that accountant that's charging £500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to demonstrate that value piece, because would you go to a backstreet doctor for your personal health and pay £20 who you've never heard of and just a couple of online things or something like that? Or would you go to a high street doctor, maybe
Mm-hmm.
pay £500, where there's loads of recommendations, there's loads of credibility there to justify it?
Mm-hmm.
Which would you go for? Both were affordable.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, your accountant is like your business doctor. And I think we need to really re-emphasize that point again. And I think the software companies got a responsibility here as well. I love Xero. I'm a huge advocate of Xero. And I know Xero are working so heavily on trying to kind of embed that relationship side of this. I am a little bit biased, so I won't speak too much of Xero, but I know they do a lot around this. But we need to bring that relationship closer back together, ask better questions, make better impacts.
Yeah, no, totally. So was it, so that message, I mean, you don't have to say it was for that advert. What was it for? Was it for a software company or was it for?
It was for an accounting software company.
Right. Okay. So yes, that's a dangerous message for them. I can see why they're leading with that. They're leading with price. Because some people are price sensitive and they just want to save money. But then, what are they spending? The money that they're saving, what are they spending that money on? And the time that they're saving, by perceived time that they're saving, what are they using that extra time on? That's what I always think. Yeah.
That's a brilliant question. Again, this comes back to something where naturally I have got a money focus, but I think in the education system, and again, I think people in education, I've got so many great friends in there, but like there's some basic skill sets like money management.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a brilliant book called The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, and there's also Profit First by Mike Mikhailovich.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think the skills around money which are gradually being lost in society, because we are largely in a cashless society there now. So you almost don't feel when you've got no money in your pockets because you just put it on a card.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if you think of the skill set, we'll go back a couple of generations here. Our grandparents, our great-grandparents will be paid cash, and they typically get paid on a weekly basis, brown paper envelope, and they go home and just have jars.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, my jar might be for food, clothing, bills, holidays, etc., etc. And they knew how to manage money in that sort of way. You consider today, and going back to your question there before, what is that saving then going on? There isn't that there anywhere. We are a wasteful society now. This is globally with regards to time and money. Because we're not tracking it, it can just disappear. I mean, you think about how many, and the banks have cottoned onto this, and I'm pleased to have, how many subscriptions are probably going out of people's bank accounts where they just don't use them anymore. But because it just happens, it's just kind of gone. You think of time-wise, if you get a bit extra time, right, okay, great. How many times have you had it, Paul? I've had it, whereby a meeting cancels and you say, great, okay, I've got that time back. You get the end and said, I don't even know what I've done with that time I saved. I've got nothing to show for it. Houses, we'll go from a 3-bed house to a 4-bed house, we'll fill it. It just, those basic skill sets in terms of money management, time management, if we get those bits back in business and personally, you can redo some phenomenal things. And again, there's technology there to support it. So again, when we're working with clients, we do some very basic things just to get things right. So it's all good and well doing your accounts and your tax, but we're telling business owners, right, at this point in time, you need to put that to one side for your VAT, that to one side for your pay-as-you-earn national insurance and pensions, that to one side with regards to company tax, and that to one side with regards to your personal tax. So we're tracking on a monthly basis. We can also say, look, what's your personal goals? Right, I want to go to Florida. Right, okay, we'll say that's 15 grand. Right, okay, well, 15 grand, you want to go there in 15 months' time, right, can we put £1,000 a month? So we'll track those goals. And just these basic metrics of tracking and money management, if we just bring these back in, so we'll get the virtual jars, be it via a Starling or a Monzo account or anything like that, we can start bringing those skill sets back in so people get out of their business what they once dreamt of again.
Yeah, no, I love it. Love that. Again, I've not really heard any accountant talk the way you talk about this. So it's really refreshing. So obviously, like, people will be drawn to you and your personality, and when they hear you speak or they meet you, then they'll either like you or they won't like you. I think you're a very likable person. I mean, I like you a lot. But you can't appeal to everyone. But So there's some people will just be drawn to you and your business and the way you present yourself and talk about yourself online and in person. But are you having to educate lots of people like on this when they're coming to you still, or are they already there? Like, is it
No.
no? Go on.
No, sorry, no, we are. Yes, that was a yeah, it is a forever battle, and I don't think that's ever going to stop. I don't think it's a hard stop. I think it's something whereby we always need to do that. But in terms of how we've approached and recruited the team, we've recruited a slightly more senior team. So when I say more senior, I'm not saying kind of like senior in terms of age, but in terms of experience. So we've got like our last recruited her when she was 23, but she'd been working in a garage since she'd pretty much left school with a finance background.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when we're chatting with business owners generally, we're only one voice or 10 voices, including the whole team. But as soon as they leave, they've got the voices of that person down the pub. But that person down the pub all of a sudden is now appearing on Facebook, X, LinkedIn, Instagram, all of those platforms, as well as down the pub, as well as the neighbours, as well as TV and everything else. So yeah, it's a permanent education.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like you say, it's a constant battle, I suppose, because people are always trying to get a deal or a bargain or save money or whatever. I mean, it's probably not a very good analogy, but like I'm not going to criticize him too much because he's awesome. But my dad, right? He never wants to spend money on nice food. Right, so he would rather go to the cheapest restaurant, somewhere where he's always ever been, that he knows what he's gonna get, and but he doesn't like going somewhere a little bit nicer. Like, I like trying new things. I'm not wasteful, but I do like trying new restaurants and supporting local businesses, and I don't mind paying a bit more for something quality. But my dad will always want the cheapest. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just a bit, but he's never going to change as he's 80 now.
Yeah.
But just a totally different mindset, different approach.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it is, and it's a hard one though as well because, and again, I'm going to say this firsthand. So again, not mean to be overly controversial here, but I say this, and this is me first. So I'll put my head on the line here. As business owners, we are all hypocritical.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think about how we live our personal lives and how we live our business lives, do we live that the same? Mm-hmm. So, and I'm working really hard to get away from that. But I'll give you a very typical example. Whenever buying something, and again, this is mostly on holiday, but I do something to do it here. Naturally, I don't want to be paying top dollar. I simply don't. I want to feel like I've had a deal.
Mm-hmm.
But now I've learned to look and seek out the value more than I did. Because in the past, I'd always say, right, okay, I need a little bit more off that. Whereas ultimately, it should be a balance between the affordability and the value. Now I ask better questions to people I'm buying from, so it's not all price-based. Mm-hmm. But we would quite happily scrimp and scrape and pull somebody down to the lowest penny if we're buying. But if we're selling, we would almost take offence at it.
Yeah.
When you have a look, it's like, well, actually, hang on a minute. If you go back, it's like, how many times have you done the same thing? But this is where it comes back to 2 points before about affordability and value. If affordability is there, then absolutely, like, again, you're going to have to get it down to an affordable level, and that's just something avoidable, be it buying or selling. It's just part and parcel. Then the value bit, how much are you willing to compromise on a value bit to get the cost to a point? And that's something, I mean, maybe it's an age thing, Paul, with you and I willing to spend that little bit more to get that little something more. But when you start reflecting and looking inwards rather than outwards, you start thinking, yeah, okay, right, let's make sure this works both ways. Mm-hmm. And I'm always very conscious of that with our suppliers in terms of that, because I don't want to be seen as one person with them and one person our clients. And I purposely do that. But also, I don't want to be seen as one person inside work to be one person outside of work.
Yeah. I'm not lavish, I'm not like splashing the cash, and I'm not like Flash Harry or anything like that. But I don't spend loads of money on clothes. I don't smoke. I don't drink very much at all. Like, I've got quite a frugal lifestyle, I suppose. But like, I don't have, but I do like nice things, and I do, and definitely going nice holidays, nice experiences with the family. That's what I enjoy doing. But yeah, I know it's. But at the same time, even with our business that I've got, me and Neil, I'm always trying to give massive value to people. I probably try and put too much value in and not charge enough for what we do. I'm always trying to keep the price low or affordable for people. But even then, sometimes people are like, oh, it's too much. It's like, what? I can't shave any more off than that. So, but there is a difference, massive difference, which I'm still learning at the ripe age of 48, difference between price and value. And I always remember this guy I was doing a bit of work with, thoroughbred entrepreneur, about 6 or 7 years ago, did a bit of consultancy work with him. We agreed the price, and straight away he goes, I would have paid a lot more than that. You need to learn the difference between price and value. I was like, bloody hell, man. He's like, what you're bringing to me, your knowledge and your experience and your contacts is so valuable to me. I would have given you a lot more than that. It's like, well, why didn't you just tell us that? so yeah. Anyway, so I don't know where I'm going with that. But go on.
No, but it is an interesting one though, and I think you think about the challenges people are facing there now. It's one of these things where naturally, and the Northeast is notorious for this. That the Northeast is one of the loveliest, best places in the world. We always want to do the best by everybody else. Always, always, always. I think it's epitomised by the Great North Run. I asked this my wife, Claire, she did it yesterday. And just like the stories, and it'd be the case of somebody that sees somebody looking a little bit cold and says, oh, look, yeah, just take my hoodie. Or like, oh, look, you can really do some salt. Here's some salty nuts or whatever. To people cheering along the streets, to the volunteers, in terms of the medical guys and everybody else along the way. We are such a giving area of the country. And again, I'm not saying other areas of the country are not, but just like you say, particularly yourself about the Northeast yesterday in the Great North Run, it's amazing in terms of that. But by doing that, we far too often put ourselves last. And it's such a trait we're so commonly doing. It's just, and that's where, like I said, the 360 vision before, people have said, is that not a bit selfish saying, make your lives better, make like our lives better, make clients' lives better, then make the world a better place? That's not a bit selfish. I said, well, do you know what is? I asked myself the same question a little bit at the start, but I said that there's two analogies which I think are a great way just to prove this. The first one is the airplane one. Your oxygen mask first. I, for years, thought, well, no, if I've got kids, I'd put theirs on first. But it's no good me flipping around trying to get theirs first, and I'm flipping out. You've got to do it, because you could do some great things for other businesses. But let's say you make a huge impact, but you're not around in 12 months' time. Well, you kind of, it's a short-term and long-term cost. And it doesn't have to be the detriment either. People often misunderstand, well, if you're doing things the best of you and not them, well, isn't that? It's like, no, well, unless you're doing something well for them, you're not going to benefit yourself. But it's got to be a two-part thing. And ultimately, you need to make sure you're here for now, you're here for the long term. Then you can make the world a better place. So that was analogy one. But then the second analogy, when it comes to obviously kind of thinking about the putting you first in terms of all these bits, is, and particularly from an accountancy perspective, you're setting the example for these guys. So you've got to kind of do that. But I speak of the formula, and again, the business owner formula would be income less expenses equals profits. Everybody would say, yeah, that sounds perfectly fine. Well, let's think of behaviours. And I love the psychology. I know you and I both love reading, Paul. So I've read heavily into psychology. I am a qualified coach as well. When you start looking at these bits of psychology, income less expenses equals profits. What that means is whatever income you've got, you pay out your expenses. Whatever's left by way of profit, you pay your tax. And where do you fall in that queue? You're over here. You're last, aren't you? Whereas if you go income less profits equals expenses, it's the same formula to an extent. But what you're doing is saying, right, okay, well, let's have a look at the income. Let's have a look at what I want/need. Need obviously being the primary focus. Then see what I can afford to put on my expenses. All of a sudden, you just move your way up the chain. And this comes back to the money management side of things. And all of a sudden, you start thinking, actually, that's a little bit better. So then that next time you think of going to get that Greg's past you or go out for that meal, and say, well, actually, I can't, because then I'm not going to be able to pay myself the wage I need this month. And all of a sudden, I'm going to have to rely on my other half. This is like, actually, no. If you can, and again, there's a bit of modelling and accountability you need to be put in here. If you can get your wage out earlier in the month, so it's done, you've got the team's wage that then you're going to think, can I actually afford to go and do that? You make better choices, make better decisions.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's clever. Again, not heard anyone talking about that. So going back to the psychology and also I definitely believe there's like a collective psyche or a personality about a region as well. So you talked about the Northeast, and I've seen this from traveling around different areas as well, that there is definitely an identity or a different way of thinking or behaving in the Northeast. Like, not everybody is nice, not everyone is kind, but I think generally, collectively, within the region and people outside the region recognize there is something different about being here, right? But you don't just operate in the Northeast, do you? You've got clients across the country. Do you have any overseas, or is it just UK at the moment?
No, we've actually, and again, it's funny how it goes out. But again, this goes back to networking and technology. We've got clients in Australia,
Okay.
contacts to work alongside globally, in the US, Dubai. So yeah, wherever in the world, we'd always have a conversation to try and seek support, because I think the skill sets that the Northeast has, which other regions don't, I think the skill sets other regions in the country has, which perhaps the Northeast doesn't, and it's just allowing it to complement and obviously kind of scale it that way. So it has allowed us to have some fantastic trips abroad as part of that, through work, fully tax deductible, just so I can get my disclaimer in there. But yeah, it has led with to kind of do Brisbane, Nashville. I'm going to India in November. So yeah, it has allowed us to spread our wings a little bit beyond the Northeast as well as in the Northeast.
Right, amazing. And but do you notice a difference about the behaviors or the attitudes of business owners in those other areas or other countries?
Absolutely, yeah. So if we talk about regionally first, I think, and again, this goes back to generations before ours, we are a very cautious region, because again, it goes back to the mining, the backgrounds, and everything. We are cautious with our money, with our actions. We might want to think a little bit longer before we make a decision, and that's all right. That's absolutely fine. And also, you could have people in this region whereby they're just like, nope, let's go, right. So again, there's exceptions, as you just described there before. The further south you go, I think people are a lot more quicker to run with things. But what I would say is neither's more right or wrong than the other. It's just a case of adapting your approach. If you go outside of that to, say, the US or Australia or India, culturally, again, it's completely different cultures again. But this is the fascinating thing, because there are so many amazing traits we could learn from other counties, from other countries, to really give ourselves something better. So when I was saying about the psychology side of things there before, I'm a big believer of I want to be, and I want other people to be the best version of themselves. To be the better version of yourself, you need to learn from other people and to embrace other people's opinion, and say, well, actually, I do or I don't agree with that. And what am I going to do to change to be better in the context of the path I'm looking to go down? So some of the lessons I've learned, and some of the amount of gratitude demonstrated by people where I've maybe only met them at one event, and that I just pick up the phone or drop my notes. Do you mind just hopping on a call? I'd love to pick your brains with regards to this. Then all of a sudden it leads to a friendship. It might lead to some work. It might lead. I mean, I had somebody across in Australia who I'd met, and I says, "Oh, I'm coming across to Brisbane for an event in 2023." I says, "Oh, have you got any tips or anything?" She goes, "Well, if you're bringing the family across, just stop at my house. I'm out in the country. Just I'll sort the keys out." And I was like, let me just but so lovely. And again, this comes back to I'm a big believer want to embrace that personal side of things again.
Yeah, but that, a lot of that comes down to you as well. She wouldn't have done that if you didn't build up a rapport and make a connection from that event, that shared experience, I suppose, from meeting at a conference or event or whatever it was, or was she a client? Did you say?
No, it was just an event. It was just an event. But this was something where at Tennick Accountants, we've made a real effort this year. And obviously, I know we've done quite a few things alongside yourself, Paul, to get back out there. And I think as business owners, we need to get back out there. Obviously, we've come to, I don't know how many platform events. We're part of the Start and Scale Up Week, both of which have been absolutely amazing for us. And the difference it makes just to be in front of somebody, to have those sort of conversations, just little, I mean, I talked about gratitude before, it actually just brightens your day just doing that. It adds a different level of energy to then, it's like, let's have a chat. But then the other thing, and again, this is maybe me, I'm a very target-driven person. I always believe it shouldn't be inputs, it shouldn't be outputs, it should be outcomes. So what I always want to do, and this goes back to my dad's, I want to make a difference with every conversation. So I have had people say, oh, look, do you want to grab a coffee? And I'll say, yeah, absolutely. Is there something particular you want to shout? Oh, I'd just like to grab a coffee. And this might sound a little bit untoward, but like, I'm not a massive fan of just grabbing a coffee. I'd like to.
It's never just a coffee, though, is it? It's never just a coffee.
Yeah, like just You want to like, what would you like? Is there something there? And again, sometimes, and as you get to know a person better, sometimes they need to sit down and just like it's a hard conversation, like they're feeling comfortable, something like. And I get that, but just if it's something you haven't really got a relationship, can I just grab a coffee? It's like, well, what would you like to achieve? What's the outcome you'd like to get from this? Is it the case if you'd like to just start a conversation, develop a relationship further on down the line because you see this being a potential opportunity? Absolutely, just tell me. Because again, it might be the case that we cannot develop that because I'm already so heavily embedded with somebody else that I wouldn't want to waste your time or mine. So let's stay in touch. If anything changes, great. But let's be honest and upfront about that.
Yeah. No.
But you get that as well, Paul, do you?
Well, I love coffee, and I drink a lot of coffee, and I don't get so much at the minute. But like I used to get a lot of people saying, "Can I just meet for a coffee and pick your brains?" And so, sometimes I've done it a lot, and I enjoy it. I enjoy meeting people and talking to people and finding out about them. And I do feel I do usually give a lot as well, and so because I can and because I want to. But some people are very I don't know. They're not clear on what they're looking for. But it would be more helpful if they just said, "Look, I want some introductions," or "I want to know if we can do some work together," or whatever. Because then meeting me for half an hour or an hour might not be the best use of the time. They might be better off doing something else before or as well as. Same with you. But yeah, it's I don't know. Maybe people are, like I say, maybe people just don't know what they want, or maybe they're embarrassed to say what they want.
But I think this is the balance again, going back to the Northeast region, whereby people don't want to take a land in terms of that, but also don't want to be too salesy. So you and I would have both had those people whereby they'll send a LinkedIn connection request, and the first emails after that, can I grab 10 minutes of your time and demonstrate our software, our offer? And this, I was like, hang on a minute, like literally, it's like you should consider this like dating. You've literally met me in a room, and you've kind of said, "Hello, do you want to go on a date?" Like, come on, like let's at least kind of like see what each other's about in terms of that.
It's not the big market. It's not the big market on a Saturday.
I don't know what the big market's now. It's not like it's via
it's
apps.
probably not like that anymore,
But no,
be a bit more patient. Take your time. Be a bit more patient. At least get to know my name. Like exchange numbers first. Don't just go straight in for it.
At least spell your name right, Paul. But no, it's interesting in terms of it. But the events, I mean, again, think of the region. I'm going to flip you around here, Paul, in terms of you think flip neck. What initially inspired you to bring the UK Startup and Scale Up Week back? Because you know how much I loved it, and I was blown away by the interactions, what it did for the region. What initially inspired you to bring that back?
Mixture, really. Well, I think, don't you, that I had my own business since 2016, and I'd done 3 of them in Newcastle, and I'd done lots of monthly events and done consultancy, blah, blah, blah. But then COVID came along and income fell off a cliff and couldn't run events. And I worked in tech recruitment for a couple of years, which I did really enjoy, but I didn't love it. I liked it a lot, but I didn't love it. And I loved what I was doing previously, like everything about what I did. So it was just in me. I was missing what I was doing before. And there was a bit of, can I do that again? Like, it wasn't a fluke because I did three amazing events, but could I bring it back and do something of a similar size and scale again? The business that I've got running is an events-based business. We do other things as well, like consultancy and coaching, but it's predominantly an events business. So we've got the monthly platform events, which you mentioned already, but I felt we needed a big flagship event just to show, well, we are different and we do things bigger and better than most people, I would say. So there's a bit of that. Obviously, make good money from it. Yeah. I enjoyed it. Everyone else who attended seemed to enjoy it. Speakers enjoyed it. I think the region needs it. I think the region needs events like that. I think the UK needs events like that. And there's nobody anywhere doing an event like that anywhere in the country. Nobody does a 5-day multi-venue citywide event that covers every stage of starting and growing a business that everybody can benefit from. So yeah, that's a long answer, but all of those reasons. But it's not easy, but bloody hard doing something like that.
Well, at one stage, I thought you were bonkers doing multi-venue, if I'm honest. Because even I was like, flipping heck. So until I'd met you across in Sunderland and I realised how interconnected, and I really understand, and this goes back to the backstory. And then, so again, you and I have known each other for years there now, but until I understood the backstory for how you'd set up the Startup and Scale Up Week, I was like, right, I understand why you're doing the venues and the focus for each and every day. And it really did something which, and again, you've got Sarah Davies there, who actually is going to inspire my next comment. But you got some amazing speakers there, Daniel Priestley, Sarah Davies. And Sarah said something yesterday when she was interviewed on the Great North Run, which I think is equally as relevant to what you did with the event. She said the Great North Run for one day of the year puts the spotlight on the region to really highlight what it's all about. And you did that across a week. And I think, again, I couldn't agree more in terms of putting that spotlight there to demonstrate some amazing individuals, some amazing businesses, and some amazing things just generally going on. In terms of now, you put a spotlight specifically that time, and again, granted, we brought people from the whole Northeast on Sunderland, and I was absolutely blown away by what was going on in Sunderland. I was like, wow. I mean, I won't mention football allegiances, although I do like to see the whole region do well. So I'm absolutely the whole region in terms of that. But like, I wouldn't have even necessarily thought about going there for a day trip because, again, I'm north of the river, so we tend to always do stuff this way. But I was like, we need to come back. Like, there's some gorgeous things there. The beaches, just in the centre.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, but when I've done the events in the past, I did them all in Newcastle, and we've done like surveys. We've asked people for feedback afterwards, and people who are from Newcastle have said, I didn't realize all this stuff was going on in my city or my region. And people have said that they feel even more proud to be from that area, haven't gone to that event. And then there's people who aren't from the area who are like, love it, fall in love with the place. I've had people who had never been before, but have since relocated to the area, or people who are thinking about coming back after moving away for career, and they weren't sure there was anything for them, but then they've come to the event and that's made up their mind that actually is a community of businesses and the ecosystem that they can be part of. And there's things like, probably, it's a very ambitious event, right? There's lots of things I was trying to do with it when I first created it. Was job seekers, people who might want to relocate to the area, but there's also people to try and stop people leaving the area. People who think there's nothing for them, but that actually is. It's just hidden, or they're just not part of it. They don't know where to go for it, but put it all together in one place, make it easy for people to find. And it does. If you've not been to the event, it's hard to explain, but I think everybody who's been to it just totally gets it.
And I think the nice thing you did, and like you said, I've been to events, but not like yours, elsewhere in the country. What it brought for me, it brought to life the actual region's personalities.
Yeah.
It's like something you go to, let's generalize and say like trade shows and things like that. But what it did was it brought more than that in terms of the actual. So I'm talking the trade shows, the generic ones, where I mean, typically the trade shows, I can't think of any real trade shows in the Northeast, but I'm thinking like more so kind of London based. But the trade shows, London sort of way, whereby you go and it's just like you just feel like you're in a factory unit. Whereby, like I say, where it's like, no, actually, what you want is you expect to see exhibitors, of course, because the exhibitors are there to support the event, so you absolutely should see those. But you want some talks, You want some engagement. You want some like interaction in terms of that side of things. You want some common space where you can go and kind of hang out and do those side of things. And what you added another level again was the theme of the days, which again, it was nice because the theme of the days I thought took you on the journey of a business owner. So you had almost like the launch day, then I say the bits thereafter. And like for me personally, you know, I've told you this already. I was kind of blown away and surprised by what I took away with each day. I was like, oh, wow. And like, again, some of the connections off the back of that, whereby we've met, had a coffee, done business together with people, and just kind of like, I feel like, there's a relationship there to build out. The fact that next time we see each other, be it at a platform event, be it at another place or something which is going on, we'd sit, have a chat, how are you doing? And yeah, it just brought the region back together again in a brilliant way. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, well, I'm really, really glad that you got that out, because obviously I know you're a speaker, but you're a sponsor as well, and but you really embraced it, like in the run up to it as well. You've really got behind it, and obviously like that. Well, it sounds like it did benefit you at the event, but you know, that's what you want in a sponsor, really, or a partner, is someone that understands what the event's all about and gets involved and gets stuck in. Doesn't just have a stand and just expect everyone to come to them. Yes, you have your stand, you've got your presence across the week, but you're speaking across at different times during the day. You're making these connections with people. You're contributing on each day. So you and your team did a brilliant job of doing that. And it goes back to, like, I say this to my kids as well sometimes about friendships, right? You form friendships with people when you have shared experiences with them. It's not just I've met them once and we've exchanged names and numbers or whatever. You've actually got to spend time doing things together, and the more you do that, the deeper the friendship. I mean, I've got friends, my best mates, who I've known since I was 3. They're still my best mates because we've been through so much together. And I've got lots of other friends through the years who come and go, and I've got loads of friends, but I haven't got as deep connections as I have with them because I haven't done as much with them. And I know that's like, I'm probably over egging it a little bit, but having a 5-day event, it gives people a chance, even if they just come to 2 days, or even if they just go to the first day, the inspiration day. It's that collective experience that is inspirational and motivational, and especially if people stick around for the networking sessions as well. So yeah, I think that's what it worked.
No, definitely. But I think Daniel Grizzly put it really well when he said like the 7-4-11. Like I say, really you need 7 hours of content, 11 touch points across 4 platforms to really develop and nurture that relationship with somebody. And I think that's the thing. You only, my dad taught us this, you only get out what you put in. But again, going full circle back to the technology side of things, technology gives us a good thing and a bad thing. It gives us multiple opportunities to utilize the 7-4-11. But also, by having the technology there, it also creates multiple distractions. So that's why, like, you could have a great conversation with somebody, but unless you're really willing to engage in the before, during, and after, it doesn't really work, because we all live and lead busy lives in terms of it. And that's where you want to remember what that conversation is. It's what we like. What behind me now? That's our client impact tree behind us. What we're doing there, we get clients, so we track impacts for clients, the impacts we're making, and we get the client to write the impact, what they've done, how it's made them feel, and then what's next. Then they sign it, and the team member signs it who supports them, because people can do some amazing things, but then they forget about them. They can have an amazing conversation and they forget about it. It's like we really should be like keep reinforcing that. Just before we hopped on here, you said about trying to step outside your comfort zone personally in terms of that, for which I can totally relate to. And we've all probably got bucket lists in terms of things we want to do personally. When was the last time we revisited and tried to tick some of those things off before it's too late? If in business, we all would have set up a business with a purpose in mind, and that purpose might have changed. It might be evolving over time. But there's one thing for certain: nobody set up a business just to save tax. Nobody. So why do we track our progress in relation to an accountant on the basis of that? So let's get back to what we're really set up in business to do, and then let's really focus on that to live and lead the better business and personal lives. And I say let's start having some fun. There's too many conversations you have with people whereby they're always looking forward to tomorrow. Well, what about enjoying today and what today brings? Them just being grateful for being today. As sad as it sounds, there might not be a tomorrow. And then all of this was one of the passions, again, driven by my dad. You see how much sacrifice is made by business owners out there. They miss meal times and bedtimes with loved ones. They lose the passion in their business in terms of it. So they're almost kind of living the job which they once dreaded in terms of the job they once left, and now they've created their own. And then on the destination, they're so fixated on the destination. It's like, guys, what happens when that destination never comes? In terms of that, we've got to bring the love back to the region, running your business and personal relationship, to really have a bit of fun and enjoy it.
Yeah, no, there's definitely I'm all for that. And I think, you've seen that the platform events and the Startup Scale Up Week event, I was having a lot of fun. I was enjoying that, but the people who were attending were having a lot of fun as well. It was just that there was a relaxed vibe about it, and that's my favorite sort of situation to be in. It's hard if you're just working on your own or there's just a small team to have that fun all the time, but you can. It doesn't have to be serious all the time. Obviously, you want to be professional, but you can have fun doing the work that you're doing. And definitely, I think I'm all for living in the moment. It's hard, because especially if you're planning and you're thinking ahead at something 6 months or 12 months down the line. But there's too often we're guilty of saying, I'll be happy when, or when I hit this target, or when I make this sale, or when this happens in the future. But it's like, you say that might not, are you just going to put your life on hold until that point, which might not come. Hopefully it does, but it might not.
Yeah. But there's something which you've just said there. All of that, as you say, we're kind of waiting for that. But again, you might not. It sounds horrible, but you might not wake up tomorrow. You just don't know. But it's short, just to demonstrate the contradiction. Whilst for us personally, you might be thinking with that approach, day to day, here and now, we want more for less, quicker. But then we're thinking, but that's in terms of other bits. But then you've got that bit there. I think that we need to kind of almost get back aligned in terms of, okay, let's have a sensible approach to the thing. So let's take those things off the list, be it cars, houses, experiences. Again, one of the best things, again, it's the last time I'm going to mention COVID, or I'll mention it again, it's by accident. One of the best things I took out of COVID was memories with my girls. So I've got a 10-year-old, I've got a soon-to-be 8-year-old. The breakfast and meal times I got with them made me realise I could work in a different way to spend time with them and my wife and still do what I need to do work-wise. And I was like, why didn't I do this? I got in the routine of doing the school run. I didn't do a school run for, well, not too many years, because like you said, they were still relatively young at the time. But now every Tuesday morning, I always do the school run. Always, without fail, I do the school run. Unless, and like I say, there is an exception, unless I'm actually physically away. But if I'm away, I need to replace that day another day that week. So I always get a day school run in every week. It's just these little moments. And then there's certain things where I just have conversations with the kids, just say, oh, look, this is what Dad's doing in business, this is why I do it, the difference I'm trying to make, and all these bits. So again, they can better understand it. And at times I might be working and they'll come in and just sit me here and just start asking us questions. And I love that conversation bit where you just get that bit of bonds to better understand, rather than just kind of see as just working long hours, which to be fair, I don't work super long hours anymore. And I implement, like I said, different steps to make sure I get better at that. But I also still need to get better. There's still loads of improvements I need to make. But that takes time.
Yeah, I love that. No, well, how rewarding was that was so rewarding, wasn't it? Being able to spend more time with your family. And I know not everyone finds it easy, but sounds like you did have a great time. And then there's, it was a difficult time for everyone, COVID, but there was some positives came out of it. Lots of positives, and got people thinking differently about work. One thing, actually, I do think people have forgotten the value of real life in-person connections, though. So I think going back to why I started doing events again, I felt like the 2 years I spent in recruitment, well, people couldn't go to events and events stopped altogether. But I felt like last year people were ready to start going to events again.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until this year that I thought people were ready to go to a big event like what I did. But I still think people just don't get it. Some people, like on Friday, we did a platform event. Obviously, I'm the host, I organize it. Brilliant speakers, great audience. Everyone was there. Like they're just as important contributing it, right? But the conversations I had with people, I'm not being, it sounds a bit wanky, right? But like I gave them the help and advice they needed. I made the connection. I did the introduction. I couldn't have done that remotely online as effectively as I could in the room with those people.
Yeah.
And that's sped up their process. Do you know what I mean? And I think not enough people understand that. Not enough people until they've experienced it. And it's not just me. There's other people like yourself. There's plenty of other people who do that sort of thing. But yeah, people, you can't just do everything digitally. Even though we've got an amazing technology at our fingertips, you can't just do everything digitally.
So what's next in the pipeline, though, Paul?
I'm just going to replace myself with an AI agent. Can't do it.
No.
Yeah, there's some things I can do, and some, yeah, you can. I'm always looking at better ways to provide value and information and advice to people. But the events will continue. The platform events, we're doing you've seen, we're doing the group mastermind sessions, and going to start in October. Because again, I think people need that. They need that in-person, hands-on, spending real time and depth with business owners on how to grow. And it's the peer mentoring element as well. There'll be a maximum of 10 people around the table plus me and Neil, but the other people around that table can help them as well. It's not. I was going to say, have you ever? I'm sure you have because you've read loads of books. Have you ever read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill?
I haven't, but it is on my list.
I only read it last year. I think it was end of last year, and it's one of those books that I regularly referred to. People talk about all the time, right? But when you read it, you realize actually it's so many other books have stemmed from that. I think it was like the first book of its type. But basically, he spent about 30 years interviewing some of the America's top entrepreneurs and industrialists, interviewed them and tried to distill common traits, like the way that they thought, the way they behaved.
Yeah.
And he does give some good ingredients and advice on how these people have become the way they are. And a lot of it is mindset and psychology.
Yeah.
But one of the things that they do is these mastermind groups, having a group of people who collectively are not just trying to make themselves more successful, but that they're looking out for each other as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of influenced by that. But that is, I think you would enjoy that if you read it. What other books would you recommend? I know you've got loads on, but like what?
I'd say so. I would turn my camera now, but it probably won't be able to make sense. But I've got bookcases over there of any number of ones. I would say two of the standout ones is 10x is easier than 2x. That's a brilliant one. And also one I read when I was away on holiday there. This one was Unreasonable Hospitality.
Okay.
Brilliant. The 10x is easier than 2x. Is by Dan Sullivan. And it's just about a mindset. It's just like if you aim to 10x, I mean, you don't have to be 10x bigger, but just be 10x better. You limit your options, so it gives you like greater focus. There's so many bits of gold, isn't there? It's just brilliant. And then Reasonable Hospitality is a story about a New York hotel and a guy that took that forward, where he'd always challenge what was going on in the industry to see to be one of the best restaurants in the world. And there's so many little bits which you could take and apply to any business. Like one of the examples he used was once we come to the restaurant, they'd get to know obviously where somebody was parked in terms of car wise, without even knowing at first to go and just put an extra quarter in the meter, so I had a bit extra, so I didn't have to rush off afterwards. And like it's nothing, but it's everything. And it's the whole age-old thing in terms of it's not what you do, it's how you make somebody feel. And there's so many bits which you take from a restaurant industry to an accountancy business to an events business to anything. Just I would say those are my two standout books. And two ones I would absolutely encourage any business owner in any industry to read. They're brilliant.
Right. No, I've not heard it either of those, so I'm gonna add them to my list, and we can put a link underneath here as well. So you've asked me what's next. What's next for you, Graeme? Like what?
So what's next for us is we've got big plans in terms of scaling. But what we've invested so heavily in terms of our offices, to really kind of building what we've done already with regards to impacts. So our investment now is passing that message further afield. So predominant focus is the Northeast, making business owners recognise they can live and lead a better life by way of embracing a different approach, asking better questions, seeking better answers. Hence the line I started with at the start, that we are changing lives one conversation at a time. So we are literally branching out to chat to as many business owners where they are willing to embrace that, willing to invest the time and money necessary to live and lead that better life. And we're just scaling what we do already. I want to fill this wall with impacts to the point where I'm having to replace them so often in terms of it, and then spread the word. But I also want to encourage the accountancy industry to come back fighting, to help across the country, across the world. I can't do it myself. So I want to do that. I want to stand firm with what we are capable of, what we've always been capable of, but now what we've got the tools to go and deliver.
Well, love it. Well, I think you're the right man to do that. But like you say, it's not just you. It's like, there'll be other people who are waiting for a reason to, and it's easy to think that there's no point, or like, that things are changing and it's that it is a dying industry. I don't think it is, but I think you're right. It is at risk of it, So I wish you well, and I'm sure you'll do a great job, and I know you will, because you are the Chief Impact Officer for Tennick Accountants, and all your clients as well. So, Graeme, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Really, really appreciate it, and love talking to you. So thanks again for being part of this and for getting behind our platform and Startup and Scale Up Week events as well.
Thank you so much for having us as part of the events. Thank you for having us on this, and thank you everybody for listening. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, Graeme. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.